and many blessings, sending love your way from my heart to yours. Polarity. Life is all about duality and contrast. And there are many paradoxes in the opposites and how they attract, the influences they have upon us. Because as humans, we're always seeking to connect, to belong, to find our tribe, to find our commonalities. Whether sometimes that is to commiserate or create, to be inspired, or maybe just to feel validated, because that's how we live this life, is through the contrast, through the experience, through the interaction and engagement with one another. And I know for myself as a fellow human, because a human is a light being, the letters HU stand for light, the whole spectrum, hue, man, human. We are light beings. We are not light doings, because just our presence is a miracle, is magic, is the love of source of God, creation, manifest. And our being here just shows how loved we truly are. Though sometimes it doesn't feel that way. So this is the time of year where we often start coming together even more. We connect, we unite, we have celebrations, gatherings, family, friends, events. And with the past couple years, there's been a lot of disconnect, though it seems we're more connected than ever before, doesn't it? The overwhelm of social media, of technology, of devices and vices, the more we're connected, the more we're actually disconnected. Because humans are meant to be in unity. Humans in unity equals humanity. Coming together, community. We need to put the unity back into our community. One-on-one engagement, person to person, face to face, heart to heart, not screen to screen, because we're hiding behind things. When we really truly want to connect, we truly want to engage, to interact, because when we are in together, when we are connected in person to person interaction, we become members, remembering, rejoining, conjoining. We are all expressions of the one, the source, God, creation, made in the perfect image. And the more of us that come together, the more concentrated that energy, that source. The more we come together, we spark one another. And that causes us to rejoin, remember, breaking down the words, really hearing what's happening. There's a spell being cast, and it's not always something negative, because just like I said, polarity, duality, contrast, life is this or that. But when we are going along the middle way, neutral in it all, embracing all parts to make ourselves whole, not trying to cut off one arm and think that we can just be whole that way. We are a sum of our parts. So that if you want to deny your dark, you're denying your light. When you reject one thing, you reject the other, because that is a part of the whole. Without the contrast, without the imbalance, you wouldn't be able to seek your balance. You wouldn't be able to notice when you get off course. Duality is simply a tool to show you where you are along your course, just like a ship steering itself through the sea. I'm going a little too far this way. I need to come back over this way, and stay centered. Stay along the path. Keep my focus. I get too caught up over here or I get too caught up over there, that's imbalance. We need to bring it back always to the middle way. And as we seek connection with one another, we're looking to reconnect with ourselves because life is about relationship. How I relate to myself is going to be extended how I relate to you. And that will demonstrate and mirror to me the work I may still need to do. So it's through this beautiful divine interaction and dance. The divine comedy is that. The way that I communicate and I relay information back and forth and relate to you is telling me all about me. And that 80% of what we speak is meant for us to hear our own words. Many blessings and blessings and all the lessons of life that are served up, more especially when we are together in person. Because with technology, there's a disconnect. Sometimes we miss the meaning. Sometimes we miss the full engagement, the real heart of the matter. Here we can get real heady. But when we're together, we can feel the heart resonance even more. Not to say we can't do that across technology, but you know, when you feel someone, you're in person with them, there's something stronger there. The concentration, the energetic vibrations, the sensations, the smiles, the smells, all five senses get to engage, not just the eyes and the ears. We are five senses, extrasensory beings, extra sensitive. So when we are able to engage all five senses, that heightens our intuition and it heightens our into me I see. That connection, the deeper sense to self is through one another. I can't experience myself alone. I seek out others to help me experience myself because when I am with another, I have myself to mirror back. We play this bouncing off, this mirror, mirror on the wall. Who do I see in front of me? Because the other is you. Recognize that other person is you too. The things you like, the things you dislike. There's your polarity, there's your contrast. Both of those are relevant to the whole of who you are and what you came here to be. What you meant to embrace, your dark and your light. Because the deeper you are willing to dig into your dark, the brighter your light will shine. That if you know the depths to which your soul goes into the dark, then there is unlimited potential for your light as well. But when you don't know what drives you from deep within, that's actually what's running the show. The deeper the unconscious, the deeper the subconscious, these programs, the more they master you. So when I've been sitting over these past few days, these messages of disconnection, connection, we all want to feel connected. Life is about connection. It is about humans coming together, not hiding from one another. To truly feel witnessed, seen, heard, experienced, relevant. And as I sat with this, I was like, wow, you know, I've had a year of really just sitting with myself and feeling into the loneliness, feeling into the disconnect. That's powerful stuff, people. The average person who doesn't heal themselves, and I'm speaking from my personal experience, what I have gone through, even in my whole journey of sitting to meditate. The reason it can be challenging for those who claim to not be able to meditate is because of the overwhelm of the thoughts that arise, because the thoughts that arise are really what are going on below the surface. Those are the unconscious things being spoken within our minds and that we don't pay attention to. And the more we notice that, we realize, wow, there's some stuff going on that I'm not tuned into. So you can't tune out from that. You can try, of course, don't meditate. Then you don't know what's running the show and it's unconscious. Therefore, you're blindly being led by your programs, your thoughts, your beliefs. And who wants to blindly walk through life and then have things happen that you don't realize you're actually creating? What you anticipate, you create, conscious or unconscious. It took me a while to recognize this pattern of my mind, the meditations and sitting and going, wow, there's a lot of thoughts that come up. And then to lean into them, to confront them, to reflect upon them, to dive deeper. Ooh, I might not want to think that about myself. Ooh, do I really think that way? Am I really that bad of a person? Because what happens? We start to judge those thoughts. They're not to be judged. They're there because that's something that's influencing you. And when you become aware of the influence going on, the programs, then you can work with them and not allow them to rule you, because this is the whole key of mindfulness and meditation, is to master your mind so you can master your life. And when you slow it down and you really tap into your breath, you start to become more aware of how the breath can influence you in a way that softens and calms you. And you can find your peace and find your way in such that you're not anxious about the thought. You're calm and reflective, meditative, postulating. Disconnection and connection. The reason for meditation is to connect deeper within, not going without. So yeah, it can be challenging because it can be overwhelming, the amount of thoughts, beliefs, stories, words, everything that pops up. But if it's popping up, it's there for your attention. And if you have pain in your body, that's just showing the disconnect from the mind, the unawareness of the goings on that have lodged themselves in your body. And the body just simply is saying, this doesn't align with the truth. That whatever belief is spinning around in your head could really be lodged in your body, because your body's saying, I need you to address this because it doesn't resonate. It's not true in my physiology. That's why they use kinesiology. You know, truth is told through the physical body because it is reflecting the mind and the heart and the soul. And we want to be connected to our body. We want to be connected to our mind. It is a mind-body, spirit being the breath, and soul connection. The more we're connected with the mind, the body, and the spirit of life, the more we connect with our own souls. The more we go without, we reach for devices, any other vices that we may have, the more disconnected we become. We reject the in for the out. And when we reject and deny what is our truth, we create our own suffering. We withhold ourselves from the richness of life, because life is this rainbow palette of flavors. We're meant to savor it all, to explore, to experience, not judge it, not get caught up or stuck on things. There's a lot of chaos in the world. But the more present we can become, the more presence that are revealed about ourselves. That we have everything we need right here. So these times of being overly inundated through technology, And we're connected even more now than ever before. You have the world at your fingertips. You have information overload, cold depression, too much, can't make a choice. It causes that like disconnection even more. See, if we were to go through life in just the happiness mode, everything's perfect, I guarantee you'd still seek some sort of stimulation. And the reason being is because eventually even that good would numb you out. So your life might be perfect, but you're feeling lack of something. Something doesn't feel right because you're not being challenged. That is the paradox of life, is that we need challenge to grow and evolve, to progress along our path. If we're not being challenged, if we don't have goals set, then we feel disconnected even more. Connection involves healthy challenge. It involves healthy discomfort. Because in order to seek the comfort, we have to experience the discomfort. In order to traverse the path of life, we have to have these contrasts to show us which way to go. Again, if you're swinging on the pendulum of life, the pendulum of life, you go over here, extreme happiness, over here, extreme joy. They're just showing the imbalance. And then when you're centered and in the middle, in neutrality, non-attached to anything else, they don't exist because they're whole together. They're just opposite sides of the same coin. So the disconnection sensation that we end up feeling is from the overwhelm of reaching outside instead of really sitting with the connectingness inside, to being in awareness of who we are first. And here's another paradox. The more you're willing to disconnect, the more connected you will feel. Are you someone that tends to have to be around people? You can't be alone because loneliness is something that you fear the most. This is something I've actually sat with this past year, and I realized that's kind of what this theme that came out was all about. That I've had moments like really high and really low, like roller coaster city over here. I'm human, and I acknowledge that and how beautiful it is. And I don't go running around screaming, oh, I'm in depression, oh, I'm anxious, I'm this, I'm that, because I go through my experience, and a lot of times I keep it private and personal. But I'm here to tell you, I am human, and I have had some serious highs and some serious lows this past year. I've had to mourn the loss of relationships that I held higher regards for and held higher standards of, that had to end. And like any major transition in life and any loss, you have to mourn that. You can say it doesn't matter, but you still have to process. It is a shift, it is a change. It is what happens in life. And every change is a mini death, no matter how big or small. That just dictates how much you'll feel it. How attached were you to it? The more we're attached to something, the more we resist the letting go of it, and the more suffering we cause in that as well, just as much as rejecting. They're kind of the same, actually, same energy. The pushing away or the pulling it toward. Resisting or attaching. It's actually very much the same energy. Both will create your suffering. Because that which you're willing to push away and resist means you're actually going to mourn a loss because you don't want to own that as a part of you. And also the same when something goes, again, it's another mourning, another loss, a death. Something from you is going away. But if you don't attach, the middle way that many teachers talk about is non-attachment, observance, neutrality. non-judgmental. The middle way is a careful balancing act. It's the, I see this, I'm in the world, not of it. I don't attach to it. I'm aware of what's going on. I don't get emotionally charged or triggered by it. It is a situation, it is an experience, and I don't choose a side. I may not even participate. It really truly is a divine dance, a divine comedy, an experience that is just meant to be experienced, not judged, not placed in a box, not rejected, and not attached. I've had many over this past year where I was like, wow, that kind of sucked. And then I realized it was just an experience to teach me a lesson that maybe I hadn't yet gotten, and I had re-experienced again, because I have noticed in my life that when I didn't get the lesson one time, I repeat it again and again, and then I may get it, and then the universe likes to play a little trick and says, hey, did you get the message? Did you learn your lesson? So here, we're going to just kind of sneak this in again and see how you handle it this time. The universe has a sense of humor. It will throw another scenario at you just to test you. It will test your wisdom, resilience, and your humor. Because we humans, we make everything so serious. We take it personal, we make it personal, even when things aren't even about us. This is what I've done. In my past, I was a lot harsher. I've always been very playful. My inner child likes to play. She likes to have fun. She's very creative, and she's extremely wise. And I encourage each and every one of you to tap into your inner child, because your inner child needs recognition for the wisdom that maybe you overlook. Or how about the times when you think, I knew I felt something within myself that didn't feel right? Your inner child always knew. Just you didn't trust it. And in this day and age, we're in this information overload. If you can't trust yourself, there's no way you can discern what's going on around you as trustworthy. And if you're seeking others to tell you what is true, then you're handing over your power. You need to know what's true for you. You need to know yourself so intimately, to the point where I said you need to go deep into your shadow and embrace all your nasty stuff, your devil and your angel. Because when you claim both of them, there's nobody outside of you who can get one over on you. Because again, when you recognize the other as you, and you can see the God in all, you'll see right through to the truth of yourself mirrored back at you. You won't try to make an excuse for them, cover them, validate their behavior if they're being dishonest or deceitful. And you'll be able to see their truth because you're being true to you. So a couple times I've actually had some experiences where I decided to do some plant medicine. I did some mushrooms, and I really just decided I am going to dive deep. I'm going to feel my feels. And in some cases I felt really cruddy, but I was owning it, and I was really like in it, and not wallowing, and not allowing myself to get self-pity like. Okay, there was a little pity party, don't get me wrong. But I would look in the mirror and have the conversation. Mirror therapy is so powerful, people. Looking in the mirror at myself and saying, you know how clever you are? You're choosing to feel this way. Do you realize there's power in that? That's a superpower. And because you're choosing to feel this way, suck it up, soak it up, lap it up, love it up. And when you're ready, you can choose to change that at any moment in time. And how beautiful is that? And each moment and every feeling is divine. There is nothing good or bad about a feeling. It's your resistance to it that causes the suffering. And when you deny your pain, or you deny any other emotion that arises, your anger, your frustration, your depression, your anxiety, your joy, your embarrassment, whatever it is you deny in yourself, you're actually creating a self-inflicted harm. Because rejection is a self-abuse. Denial is like a knife in your own heart. When you own that and embrace it and just feel it fully, then you build resilience. You reinforce the fact that it doesn't hurt you, it doesn't kill you. It's actually part of what makes you stronger. That the more you're willing to feel those feelings, life will serve it up. The contrary, the contrast, the polarity, the duality of whatever it is you're willing to go in deep to feel. The deeper you go into your shadow and feel your muck and your crap, the higher you will rise to your joys and happiness, your greatest experiences of life. What you're willing to dive deep, you're willing to dive high. For every high, there's a low. For every low, there's a high. And once you understand these dualities, these polarities, and when you're swinging, that the momentum will pick up and it will always dish out to you what you're willing to dive in for. It will meet you where you're at. And when you see that that's part of the divine dance of life, finding the balance and the harmony, and it's not about always feeling good, but being good at feeling, that life is this amazing melange of sensations, 5 senses, people, that we are so blessed, so loved to breathe in the spirit of life, to take it in through all these 5 senses. That's a gift, that you can go through all this drama, because we are drama kings and queens here, people. Come on, you got to admit it. Be the star of your own show. This is your life. Own it. Own what you feel. Don't let it own you. Because what you repress, because when you push down, it will pop back up. And when it comes back up, it's usually stronger than it was when you put it down. Because the resistance will equal you. The sooner you're willing to feel the feels, the sooner the feels are going to feel better. That's just how energy is meant to stay in motion. When you get stuck up and in your body is all tight and tense, all that's trying to do is get your attention. Hey, hello. Tension needs your attention. That's how amazing you are. That you can flip the switch at any moment in time, as you choose. And as I was sharing with the mirror therapy, is you just look in the mirror. When you look at your own face in the mirror and you look in your eyes and you say, you're choosing to feel this. It's almost comical. You start laughing at yourself. Like, wow, right? Like, I'm clever. I'm clever enough to create the story that's creating the pain. Pain didn't get created on its own. I created a story around why I'm feeling the way I feel. Whatever the story is, you're the author, you're the producer, and the actress or the actor. All the world's a stage. Why not act the way you want to feel? I'm not saying to poo-poo on what is happening under the surface. You need to confront the past, whatever the pains are, and not let them run the show. The sooner you work through your old stuff, the new stuff will arrive. But you got to make space for it. Because if you've been holding on to stuff, you got a heavy bag, the more you're like launching it forward and just repeating it and re-experiencing it. Just like when you tell a story. Every time you tell a story, you're reliving it, you're recreating it, you're reinforcing it. How about remember? Once again, to remember is when we come together and we put each other together energetically, and those are concentrated members of the God source, of creation. If we are all drops in the ocean, or we are all the ocean, we're all connected. That when we come into group, into community, especially, I love to share this in yoga or even in any type of fitness. When we are together in a group of people, we collectively join our energies. You may not even realize or ever thought of it that way, but if you come to a yoga class and there are 10 people in the room, let's say 2 people are super strong and you have some medium people who can kind of get by, and then you have a couple weak people. Because of the energy of the group and the intention to be there, to do the work, you're not doing it for yourself. You don't have to struggle on your own to do something that might be too challenging. You have the power of the group energy to call upon and to tap into. That those people that are strong in the class are typically elevating and lifting you. So stop thinking you have to do it all on your own. When you join in group, and this is about the connection, when you know what you need, you can actually actively seek it out with confidence. If you've tapped in and healed and aligned everything that you know about you, the deeper, the more truer you know who you are. Know thyself. To thyself be true. The more it's easier to attract that which you need, that which you seek, to join in community, to find your tribe, whatever it is. Now that's real general to say, and it does take work, and it does take journaling and effectively knowing yourself, but it takes time, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been doing this for years. I'm not going to tell anybody you should be where I'm at, because God forbid. When I first started on my path, I don't even know how to say that one actually. Let me see. I've always had a connection. There was a lot of programming, a lot of layers upon the me, the self. When I started actively wanting to pursue getting rid of the whatever that stuff was, right? The stories. I remember I came back to the States in, let's say, 2008. And I had a lot of frustration and resentment because of the circumstances that caused me to have to come back here. Didn't want to leave Italy. Didn't want to leave my job or my work. I could care less about the job, actually. I was fighting that one. I was unhappy in my job, though. Why was I trying to stay in a toxic work environment when it wasn't healthy for me? Why would I go where I'm not being treated well? Why would I continue to subject myself to negativity and nasty treatment? Like, these are the questions people should be asking themselves. I had to ask myself this. This wasn't something that was like the first foremost thought on my mind at the time. In fact, it was more like, I need to work. I need to do this. Not that I wanted to. And see, that's an interesting dynamic in itself. A lot of us, we go through the motions, but we never question why. What's our motivation? You go through the motions, but what's the motivation? Are you doing it from your heart? Are you doing it from your head? And I know back then it was all in my head. My work was the persona I had created, the professional life and reputation I had, and I was trying to live up to this. Wasn't living up for this. This was being so depleted that my physical body, I was in such chronic pain, and I had a lot of nerve pain, probably because I hadn't gotten up the nerve to make the changes that were healthy for me. You know, this is the body, it will tell you when you're not aligned. I had nerve damage. I had a head injury, hit my head, couldn't turn my head to the left. I couldn't sleep on my left side. That was a rather crazy time, and I was pushing through it the whole time. I never even thought to go out on disability, even though that would have been the smart thing to do, because my mindset was work. I was so strong-headed, strong-willed, I didn't even think about what options were available to me. I was paying for short and long-term disability, which I should have been on. Instead, I decided to stick around in a hostile work environment. But these are the things that most people don't stop to think, because maybe you were raised to constantly just forge ahead, no matter how painful it is. This is the ethic, the work mindset that you have or had. And for me, it was, you need to take care of yourself. You're the only one who takes care of you. And believe it or not, that was my mindset, that it was always me. I have to take care of me. Who else is going to do it for me? And I can tell you it was to my own detriment because of what transpired, but it was the biggest blessing I ever got. I just didn't see it at the time. I saw it being done to me as opposed for me. But it's a big wake-up call, and some of us need those harsh wake-up calls. I'm probably one of them, because I've had it happen a few times in my life in different occurrences where I learned the hard way in some cases. And in other cases, I can see through other people's experiences that I don't want to have that experience. So I'll take that cue. But when that happened, it caused me to completely change my lifestyle. And then I realized there's a pattern here. Not only was my romantic relationship extremely volatile, but the work environment was hostile. So there's something not going on right here. I'm not happy, right? So I had to actually start working on that. How disconnected I was from my heart at the time and didn't even realize it. And it's so crazy because my ex, I know his heart was love, but he had an addictive personality, and he was living a life that was not congruent with my integrity or my values, which is the irony. Like, how many of us have gotten in relationships with people and we never actually compared our values or our goals and what we wanted out of life? We just kind of matched up with somebody and just figured it'll figure itself out, and you start asking questions here or there and you just assume. I think that way is the worst way you can ever enter in a relationship. Have the hard conversations in the beginning, because at least then in the beginning, if you get those out of the way, if you even get past those, you'll know whether or not that person is meant to be in your life. You can still love somebody and not be right for them or them right for you. But as a result, I came back to the States and I took Date with Destiny with Anthony Robbins, and my life took on that trajectory of, I'm going to heal me. I'm going to work on me. I'm going to be single and take care of and be with me. And I'm going to tell you, that's not always the easy way either. So over these years, I actually have had to be lonely, with myself, alone, single, not dating. I wasn't seeking, and I might have been pursued, but honestly, when I get blinders on, I don't notice everything. I could have someone right next to me hitting on me. Sometimes I'm oblivious to it, but that's just me, because I just do me. And it's kind of comical to me, but I have a little naivete to that sometimes. On the other hand, let me tell you, let's go back to this disconnection thing. I was saying that I have done plant medicine over this past year, a lot of mushrooms, because the mushrooms are great teachers. And anybody out there is listening, this is not advice. I'm just saying what has worked for me. Not everybody can handle taking psychedelics or plant medicines. And I don't recommend it for everyone. Here's why. Because you may not realize that you're not able to confront something within yourself. And if you do suffer with depression or anxiety and you go in with a fearful mindset, that can actually create a situation that is not conducive to your healing. Because again, it has to be a mindful act. It has to be set with intention. It has to have the right setting, the right support. I don't recommend anybody do it just blindly, because everything should have a sacredness, a ceremony to it. So for me with the mushrooms, I am very much in gratitude, because they teach me. We always work together in a setting and a set intention that I am doing the work. I set the intention of whether it's to heal my body, whether it's to inquire deeper, whether it's to seek guidance, they are amazing. They show me signs. They give me extra awareness. And sometimes it gets me out of my own way. And then there have been times, as I was saying, that it gets me in that space where I'm like, this sucks. This is shitty. And I'm looking in the mirror and I'm seeing myself. I'm seeing myself looking back at myself. And I find the compassion. And I also find the strength and the wisdom in the person looking back at me. Because I'm choosing to see me as I am, as opposed to how I want to see me. And I can see the wise woman. I can see that inner child. I can see the pain. I can see the joy. I can see the curiosity, the creativity, the artist, the writer, the speaker, the lover, the nurturer, the peacemaker, the person that truly believes in humanity, who believes in herself. I can see her courage for showing up and doing the hard-ass work. And that for years, I knew I wanted more, but maybe I didn't feel worthy of it. I always doubted, or I questioned or overthought things instead of proceeding and stepping into and being willing to confront the overthinking. Progress versus perfection. Anybody out there? Perfectionists? Don't have the answers? Just freaking do it. You'll figure it out as you go. I'm willing to make mistakes. I'm willing to at least put myself out there. And at the same time, my intention is always pure and from my heart. So if I do put myself out there, I'm humble enough to receive guidance. I'm humble enough to receive feedback, to deeply reflect and sit with something that, okay, that didn't go so well. How can I learn from this, and how can I better proceed from this? What lessons and blessings am I getting out of this that I can carry forward? Because to me, that's integration. That's the application. First, you go in, you have the experience, and then you have to reflect and recognize okay, that wasn't my intention. This is what happened. How can I course correct? What would I have done better? And what will I do better the next time? I write a lot. I journal a lot. Now, with doing plant medicine, DMT, 5-MeO, there's a whole lot of stuff out there. When you go into what we call the void, ketamine's really good for that because it disassociates you from your body in a way. And this is why I say don't ever do anything without some guidance or somebody you trust to help support and hold that space for you. Because for you to go in, you need to feel safe and that there is someone there to hold you if something were to happen or you need someone's assistance. So with ketamine, for example, when you're in, they call it the void. Sometimes I've heard people call the K-hole and different things. Well, I'm speaking from the medicinal purposes of the ketamine. I'm not talking about the street stuff, which is like, I guess people snort that. And there's different variations. I'm talking about medical grade, and I'm talking about through the guidance of someone who is practiced, whether it's a medical professional or such. Really, you just need to feel safe and seek out the proper people to support you. Don't just do this at your own leisure. Don't do it for recreation. That's a waste because there's so much benefit and integration, integrity, and intention, setting that sacred space. With ketamine, when you go into the void is where creation happens. Void is where from nothing erupts the creation. That's how everything came from the void. And so for me, what I've been sitting with has been how if you really want to feel connected, because we all seek out stimulation when we've been overstimulated. This is the irony of addiction. is when you have gotten the first high of something, whatever that is in your life. It could have been breath work, for example. Is first time you do serious breath work and you have a Kundalini awakening or experience or something, you want more. You want to go a little deeper. You want to find out a little bit more, unless it's really scary for you. So when you're chasing the high, that's the addiction. You want to get back there. And we're all kind of doing that in this life. We're humans. We're in these physical bodies, and we know we came from something more. We're all kind of seeking that out, conscious or unconscious, to reconnect to that source, that powerful, tap yourself into. So when you're in these void spaces, because this is another way to reawaken your senses. And a lot of people, when you suffer with loneliness, the only way to truly work through loneliness is to disconnect fully, to actually feel what it feels like to be lonely. Because if you don't know that feeling and you're afraid of it, that's creating the power over you. And that what you fear actually masters over you. So this takes a lot of courage to do. I'm just sharing my experience, but if you are somebody who really struggles with loneliness in life, I highly recommend something I listened to with Aubrey Marcus talking about these dark chambers, the deprivation, the light deprivation sensory stuff. This is powerful work. It's not for everybody. But again, when you are deprived of sensory stimulation, if you have no light, you're in total darkness. What happens over a course of time is it kicks in your DMT, your dimethyltryptamine, right? I believe I said that right. And that's your natural. You don't even need drugs for that. You can do breath work to influence it, to awaken it within you. There's different ways to do it, but you need to seek out the right practitioners and the people to support you. And everybody will have a different experience. But essentially, when you deprive your senses, then you recognize what it's like to be in that space, that void, that what seems like loneliness, but you're not alone. So if you fear something, the real way to get over the fear is to experience it fully so that it doesn't have the power over you, so you do know what it feels like, and then you're not afraid of it. And just like anything, to strengthen the nervous system, we have to put ourselves in situations that challenge it. Like the rubber band, you got to pull it and see it, that it snaps back into place. Even just like with our Kundalini yoga, when I teach a class and we're strengthening the nervous system, I'll have you do something. And if your body is shaking, that's your resetting your nervous system. You're strengthening it. It's recalibrating. Anytime your body is shaking in a movement, any type of heavy lifting, weights, or abdominal work and holding your legs up. Pilates is a great example. Anytime your body is shaking, that is recalibrating and strengthening your nervous system. That's how we build resilience. And in all of that, it also creates this chemical cocktail of happiness, dopamine. It reinforces the system and its immunity building and how to strengthen your reserve. Your courage muscle is also strengthened on the underside, because truly, to push through what feels like you can't go anymore takes courage. So I shared this specifically about the loneliness is because we as humans, we don't want to be alone. You can say you're fine by yourself, but I don't think anybody truly wants to be alone. We all seek that connection with another, because that connection with another is what gives us our humanity, our humanness, our mortal self. Because through that other person, we experience ourselves, because we cannot experience ourselves by ourselves. Through the mirroring, through the interaction, the witnessing of one another, the observing the self through the eyes of the other person and the way that they behave toward us. And I mean, when you get to the depth of really observing every little interaction and nuance of yourself through another. That deepens your relationship to yourself. And again, the more you know yourself, the more you'll know and be able to discern another. You'll feel the truth indicator within. So the more connected we are, the more disconnected we become. Paradoxically, if you're willing to become fully disconnected, you will become much more connected to yourself. But that is through the willingness to sit in your discomfort, whatever that may be. The discomfort may be meditation. The discomfort may be, I don't like being alone. I'm actually much better these days being alone than I have ever been, but I am a people person and I can be a hermit too. I can vacillate and dance between the two because I see the benefit of deep reflection. I see the benefit of being with others. I'm not here to hide away in a cave, to go to the mountains and hide out. I know I like people. I genuinely do. I believe in humanity. I believe in our ability to overcome challenge together, to be able to better communicate, to better support one another, to inspire one another by being our best version of ourselves first. Because we are all here to inspire one another. And in some cases, inspiration may come in the form of an irritation. Just consider, if someone lights something in you, whether it's under your ass or in your heart, it's all the same energy. Whatever moves you has been motivated. And it's playful and it's fun if you allow it to be. Remember, you're a whole human. You're a whole light being. Don't cut your right arm just to say, oh, I don't need that. The left and the right and the left, you need all your parts. You can't deny your dark just because you only want to favor your light. You need the dark in order for the light to shine bright. There's just so much irony in the paradoxes of duality and polarity of this world. We need contrast. Contrast is how we navigate. Again, when you're off course because you're over here too far or over there too far, it's just showing you that you're not in the neutral middle way. Keep your focus on the destination, but have fun along the way. Don't get so fixated and stubborn and serious about things and, oh, it's supposed to be this way. Let life surprise and delight you. That's why we're here, to have these varied experiences. So I just want to share some other things that had come up, though, because this has been really this is some juicy stuff. Sitting in your discomfort is how you find your comfort. To feel the extreme discomfort affords you the ability to see where you need to lean for the comfort. If you're resisting it, it's going to persist. You're going to create more of it. Just like when you anticipate pain in your body because it's always been there, that's part of the addiction and the attachment. So when you're anticipating, you're creating it. And in fact, you're making it even more powerful because you've given it your attention. You've given it so much energy and focus. Attention is how you grow something. Where attention goes, energy flows, and that grows, and it grows, and it grows. So if there's tension in your body, breathe into that and lean into it and go, hey, what are you trying to get my attention for? What is the message in this experience? Because pain is our biggest teacher, isn't it? I know it has been for me. In my most painful moments, I've found, oh, there's what that was about. That's what the story was lodged in my shoulder or in my knee or in my hip or whatever it is. All right, so a Of course, we all want to feel good, but all feelings matter. The only way to feel good is to actually be willing to feel the contrast of all feelings. You become numbed out when you feel good all the time, and then you will seek out some form of stimulation. You can't have it all good all the time. That's what gives life its flavors. It's a buffet. Be willing to try a little bit of everything. So what often happens, and this is an interesting dynamic, is it causes people to seek a quick fix. So when we're always chasing after the high and we're numbed out to our pain because we want to just feel the joy, we're not going to feel the joy. Because when you numb the pain, you numb the joy. You can't have one without the other. And when you try not to have one, you won't have the other. Comfort is in the word discomfort. They're just polar opposites, shining the shadow and light upon the imbalance in the moment. If you're present enough, there to go. If you're present enough, you'll notice that you don't even have to choose either one of them. It's in the choosing that you create your suffering, because it's resistance. And what you resist, you reject, and that is how you create your suffering. Because rejecting is what causes the mourning and the loss. It's the loss of the complementary part of the whole. So when you want this, but you don't want that, you're creating an imbalance in that whole. And remember that these are contrasts and polar opposites. And when you reject the other half of something, it's like cutting off your right arm because you favor your left. It's actually that simple to consider. It is that straightforward. Whenever you choose this or that, you're rejecting one, and that's just like thinking you need your right or your left arm more than the other. You're a whole human, you're a light being having this dualistic life experience. We're constantly thrown into the polarity of life to learn this lesson of balance. That's why we're here, to create that middle way, to create the neutrality, to be present in the moment and not always seeking the past or the future. Those are, again, polarities. Those are contrasts. You're not in the moment. The more we come back to and join with our whole self, rather than the parts we like, the more empowered we become and can truly harness our power. That's really the key. This is the middle way. Neutral, observant, unattached, non-judgmental. Don't let man trip you up. There's plenty of chaos in the world. So you really don't need connection with another if you are connected with yourself, because you will connect to another. It's the truth. The more connected you are to self, the more you naturally will connect with another. Because when you own all your parts, you will not deny them in another. So when you judge another, you're judging your own self. And when you have claimed all your parts, you're no longer in judgment or attachment to what is or what isn't, but you're owning it all. You're embracing it, not in denial, but in total, complete wholeness. And that in itself means you will see that in everyone else. You will see their truth, and you will accept it and honor it. Because when you honor thyself, because everything starts with self, it's easier to have compassion and hold others where they're at, as opposed to rejecting, denying, arguing, or pointing any fingers. But that's the goal. That's what we strive to do, is to be whole in ourselves, to demonstrate that for others. The more we do that for ourselves and we mirror it out to the world and show up as the lighthouse, the more we give others permission to do the same. And of course, just like the moth to the flame, people will be drawn to you. The more you stand in your power and your knowing, your gnosis of you, the more others will be like, hey, I want some of that. And you can't get upset at that. We all want some of that. So we strive to be the best we can be so that it inspires others to be the best they can be too. The only way a person will ever truly find meaningful connection is to feel how deeply disconnected they already are, to surrender to the loneliness that they fear. You won't fully know yourself without being completely alone with yourself, without the need for anyone else to be there or to be present for the experience that is only meant for you. So many people fear being alone, but we're never alone. We're just not present with what is. We're just not present with ourselves. But why would we want another to be present to what we're not willing to be present for? So pay attention. Codependency is very common, to want others to substitute what we're unwilling to do for ourselves. And that's what I'm talking about when we are so fearful of loneliness and we have to have another validate us. That's when we really truly need to be willing and courageous enough to be alone with ourselves. Because the more we can sit and be alone with ourselves, we're not going to seek out another to fill that void. We need to be able to fill that void. And then anybody else who shows up after that is going to complement us. That's the key. We're here to complement one another, not to complete or fix or help the other. We're here to inspire one another, uplift one another through our beingness, not our doingness. Anyway. Yep, that's pretty much what I got. So sometimes you feel fine and other times you don't. It's okay. And we are constantly going through transitions. Years ago, my mother sent me some books when I was living in Italy, before I lost my job and all. And it was a Jan van Zant's, In the Meantime. This is a brilliant title. And the book was fascinating to me too, and it really made a lot of sense at the time, because I went through some transitional periods with boyfriends at the times, and in the meantime. So there are people that come into your life for a season, for a reason, as we say. And she called it in the meantime, transitory. In the meantime, you're with this person. There's a lesson here. Just like anything, we all come into each other's life to serve. We're all going to be shedding some light on each other's stuff. And sometimes it's not so pretty. But it's okay. It's okay to be seen. It's okay to go through the melange of experiences that life will hand you, throw you, knock you off with. This is the beautiful part. It's all messy in a beautiful way. It's the choosing of how we respond or react to it that really makes the difference. So in the meantime means that maybe someone's in your life and you know they're not the one. Although I think that's a lot of pressure to put on anybody. Just saying. If you're really already putting are you one of those people who romanticizes and fantasizes the first person you see and you're like, oh, what will our children look like? And what would it be like? And what would our marriage? And what did the wedding look like? And what like how crazy our minds will go, create these stories. I could tell you all sorts of craziness that comes up out of this mind and you wouldn't believe it. Sometimes I don't. But at the same time, I know how clever and how creative my mind is. So it can go on a crazy tailspin ride. It can do a roller coaster, a loop-de-loop, a flip, a flop, all sorts of craziness. But that just shows me where I'm at. If I'm willing to witness and be mindful of my thoughts. Because my thoughts are telling me all about what my old patterns and my beliefs are. And some of my experiences too. So in the meantime, doesn't mean forever. Everything's transitory until it isn't. Just keep that in mind. No matter how high or low, the ebbs, the flows, wherever you're at in your life is always transiting. There really is nothing that is permanent. And if you can get over that little hump, that will save a whole lot of grief and a whole lot of areas of your life. That this too shall pass. Some people like that, some people don't. that when you're not feeling well in a moment, don't worry, you'll eventually feel good too. Again, like I said earlier, for the highs, there will be the lows, and for the lows, there will be the highs. If the more you're willing to go in and feel the feels, the more rich the feelings will be. It's not always about feeling good, it's about getting good at feeling. And again, if life is a roller coaster, enjoy every bump and ride. That's why we're here, to seek the balance and to experience. Don't get stuck along the way. Life's transitory, right? So, are you feeling connected or disconnected? It's a paradox. We all want to feel, period. So feel the feels. And if it doesn't feel good, feel it even deeper. Lean into it even more. What doesn't feel good is there to teach you. And if you're willing to go in, it's going to reward you on the other end. That's one thing I have learned in my life. The more I'm willing to feel even the crappiest of stuff, the richer the blessings that come out of it. Because it's afforded me to know my shit, own it, and to feel okay with it. In fact, if anything, I'm really good with it because it doesn't own me and it doesn't master or rule over me anymore. That I'm good with me. And that even though I may make mistakes, I'm human and I'm humble enough to apologize and say, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. It wasn't my intention, whatever that is. And from my heart, there is pure love. As long as you know your intentions, as long as you do the best you can, stop giving yourself the shame, blame game or the fingers pointing. Don't do that to yourself. Kindness matters to your heart. And when you're kind on you, others will be too. And it'll be easier for you to extend that to others as well. So I have so much gratitude for each and every one of you, whoever shows up to my videos, to follows me, whoever receives guidance and support out of this, whatever resonates with you. I appreciate you. Click the subscribe, click the notification bell, share this with whoever you feel could use these words of wisdom. And I love you and I want you to be happy. I want to see you thriving. This isn't about survival. This is about mastering your life. And really, truly, you are here to do that. And you have the power. I believe in you. Happy Thanksgiving, gratitude, many blessings from my heart to yours. I love you very much. Stay tuned. I love you. I will be back. There's so much more. Sweet dreams.